there. Welcome back to Neutralizing COVID, the monoclonal antibody story, the podcast where we unpack the science, strategy, and real world impact of monoclonal antibodies in the fight against COVID 19. I'm your host, Dr. Shikha Agrawal. Today, we are tackling a topic that often raises questions in the public conversation. Why some COVID 19 monoclonal antibody treatments have had their emergency use authorizations or EUAs withdrawn? What drives those regulatory decisions? How does the FDA determine when a treatment is no longer appropriate for use? Let's explore EUA withdrawals and regulatory decisions in context of what guides the FDA. To help us understand this process, we are lucky to once again welcome Dr. Aiswarya Chaudhuri, a nanomedicine researcher. Welcome to the podcast. We are glad to have you here, Dr. Aiswarya.
So good to be back, Dr. Shikha. I have been looking forward to continuing these discussions.
Let's lay the groundwork first. What exactly is an emergency use authorization or EUA? And how does it differ from full FDA approval?
An emergency use authorization or EUA is a regulatory mechanism that allows the FDA to authorize the use of medical products during public health emergencies like the COVID-19 pandemic when certain criteria are met. Unlike full approval, which requires a comprehensive set of clinical data over time, an EUA can be granted based on the best available evidence at the time, especially if the potential benefits outweigh the risks in an urgent situation. It's a tool to ensure timely access to promising treatments while still maintaining the oversight.
So, when monoclonal antibody therapies were granted EUAs early in the pandemic, what was guiding those decisions?
In the early stages, the FDA relied on the clinical trial data showing that certain monoclonal antibodies could reduce the viral load, decrease the hospitalization rates, or shorten the symptom duration, particularly in the high-risk individuals. At the time, circulating variants were well matched the antibodies being developed. But because of UAs are conditional, they come with the understanding that the evidence will evolve and so might the virus.
That brings us to the withdrawal. What typically leads the FDA to revoke or revise an EUA?
The most common reason is loss of efficacy due to viral evolution. For example, if a new variant emerges that the authorized monoclonal antibody can no longer neutralize effectively, the FDA may determine that the risks now outweigh the benefits, especially if alternative treatments are available. This has happened multiple times during the pandemic. Therapies that were effective against earlier variants like Alpha or Delta sometimes had a minimal activity against Omicron and its subvariants. In such cases, continued use wouldn't serve the patients well.
Would you say that decisions regarding the withdrawal or continuation of EUAs are primarily informed by scientific data rather than external influences?
Yes, they are based on ongoing surveillance and laboratory testing, including neutralization assays against emerging variants. The FDA often acts on input from multiple sources, including the CDC, NIH, and independent research. It's a dynamic process grounded in real time data, not just clinical trial results from the past.
You have set the stage beautifully for my next question. Some people have expressed concern or confusion when they hear a treatment is no longer authorized. How should the public interpret these regulatory shifts?
It's important to understand that removal of an EUA doesn't mean the therapy was unsafe or a failure. It usually means that the virus has changed in ways that make that particular antibody less effective or obsolete in the current landscape. These decisions actually reflect a responsive regulatory system that adapts as new evidence becomes available.
So, how do manufacturers respond to these changes? Are they able to modify or develop new antibodies quickly?
Many companies work in continuous development cycles, monitoring variants and preparing updated candidates. Some have even designed platforms for rapid antibody discovery, aiming to shorten the timeline between variant emergence and new therapeutic options. That said, even under EUA, updated treatments still require rigorous testing before they can be authorized.
Speaking of that, is there a long-term future for monoclonal antibodies against COVID-19, or do you think the window is closing?
There's still a role, particularly for immunocompromised populations where vaccine may not offer enough protection. However, going forward, variant resistance and manufacturing timelines will shape how viable monoclonal antibodies remain as a frontline tool. It's also possible we will see broadly neutralizing antibodies or combination therapies that can better withstand viral evolution.
Dr. Aishwarya, thank you for shedding light on how regulatory decisions are made and why they are so critical to public health. This has been incredibly informative.
So good to be here. Thanks again, Dr. Shikha. It's an important conversation, and I'm glad to be part of it.
And thanks to all of you for listening. That's a wrap for today's episode of Neutralizing COVID, the monoclonal antibody story. If you enjoyed today's episode, we would love it if you subscribed and told a friend about us. It makes a world of difference. Until next time, take care and keep exploring science.